Class, welcome to week 13. So this week you're going to really focus on your team project development, and I'm going to give you a lot of free time to work on that. So you have no assigned readings this week because I wanted you to spend that time doing your development. So you submitted your design specifications, and I'm going to be providing feedback with you, and my plan is to get you feedback back by Monday. So later on this afternoon I'll be able to send that feedback to you. And then I want you to be able to have the next 2 weeks to really work and focus on your development. Your next major assignment is going to be Part C, which is not going to be due until April 14th. So this week, if you haven't already done so, you need to complete your Articulate Storyline 360 training and submit that certificate through from lynda.com through Canvas. That's going to be due on Sunday. Other than that, you have no other actual assignments because, again, I want you to be working on your development. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you a bit about, because I've had several questions about collaboration. So there's a couple different ways you can collaborate, and these are some suggestions based off of previous semesters. So the first way you can use Google Drive. So what you'll want to do is create a shared folder, and you want to schedule development time. And by scheduling development time, what I mean is that you'll say on Monday, Mary's going to work on X and Y. Then Mary's going to save that file to the shared folder, and then on Tuesday, Sally's going to pick up that folder, pick up that file, and add Z and T to it. And you continue that development process. It's going to be important for you to make sure that you have that scheduled time. And I also suggest that you have some type of naming convention. So for instance, it may be file name plus initials plus date. So it could be prototype-rm0330.story would be the storyline file. Now one of the things that's really important is to make sure that you have saved that storyline file and also allowed enough time for it to sync back to Google Drive before you start working on it. That's why I suggest you give a little bit of a break between when people are working on the files. Another thing that you may want to consider doing is you may want to consider creating a template file, and then if you're going to have 2 or 3 sections and you're going to have people assigned to work on specific sections, one option is that they could work on the template, add their own individual sections using the styles that and the artifacts and the design that you've talked about. Then they can upload their individual parts, and then one person could work on putting all 3 of those parts together into their coherent design. It's completely up to you and something for you to work on as a group and decide what works best for your schedules and your project. Another thing that you may want to consider using is Articulate Review. This is something that we're going to be using for our own feedback, but it could be a useful way for you to do some collaboration as you're working on your development. So one of the things is that some of the interactions and some of the features in Storyline won't really work correctly when it's not in a published format. So you may have noticed this when you try to do preview, certain things don't quite work the way you intended. And that's because sometimes you need to publish it. So Articulate Review allows you to publish into a web URL. So for this project, you're not going to have to worry about publishing to your UNCC space like we did with Captivate. Instead, we're going to use Articulate Review, which is part of your 60-day trial. So one of the nice things that you could do, and one of the workflows you could do, is that you could have someone who's done the development. So as we talked about previously, you've gone through and put the different sections together. Everything's ready to be looked at. It's a concept called Q&A, Quality and Assurance. And what you need to do is test to make sure things work the way they intended. So what you could do is you could publish it to Articulate Review and then send that URL out to the members of your group. Then when each of the members of the group goes and clicks on that link and they go back and play the different sections, if they see something that's wrong, see something that's missing, see a typo, there's an option for them to leave feedback. And what's really nice is that feedback is going to be attached to whatever slide they're on. Then whoever is responsible for design for the week can go back through, can see the feedback, and can actually resolve those comments, can post a follow-up question. So it's a very helpful way to do some of that peer collaboration, and it's something that we're actually going to use in the future. So we're going to be using Review for your submission of Part C, which I mentioned is due on April 14th, and also for the group feedback, because there's going to be a period where we're going to look at each other's projects and you're going to do some peer review, and then also with your final submissions. And then finally, it's going to be helpful for you to use Articulate Review when you're sending it out for your evaluations, because you're going to need to have 2 or 3 people evaluate your module and give you some feedback, and they're going to need to be in your target audience. So for Part C, the prototype, this is going to be your next assignment that's going to be due. It's going to be due on April 14th. So one of the reminders is it needs to be self-paced. So that means everything is contained within the module. That means if you need any artifacts, if you need to have any videos, they all need to be embedded within the storyline. It also means that all the feedback, all the activities need to be done within Storyline. It is not going to be appropriate for this project to have the students have to create something on their own on an external site and then submit it for feedback. That's not going to work. Everything needs to be within the module, very similar to how we did with the Captivate project. You're going to want to have clear learning objectives. I gave some groups some feedback on your previous assignment to make sure you really were clear about what the actual objective is. And if you're having clear objectives, then we're going to have a clear way to understand how the content is going to work throughout the module. There needs to be cohesive design and flow. This is a group project. I know that each individual group member is going to have a different level of contribution and a different amount of input. However, it's going to be very important that this final project, what you submit at the end of the semester, looks like one module. It does not look like 4 different people worked on it and it has 4 different things. So for instance, it's okay if you want to have sections and you want to have a different color for each section. However, you need to have the same template and simply change that one, maybe the header color to be purple, to be red, to be yellow, but it still needs to be the same design throughout. So you can use colors as a way to distinguish between the sections, but it should not have completely different styles. So you should come to an agreement on what your design style is going to be and be consistent throughout that. I also would like to see you be creative. That means incorporating different activities, different interactions, use characters, use different templates. It's important that you have a template, but find a way to incorporate. Some of you did a really nice job with your individual projects by being creative and not simply just giving bullet points, but really giving an engaging experience, and that's what I'm looking for with your Part C prototype to see that. I also really want to see that you've used Articulate Storyline features. We spent a lot of time doing the lynda.com tutorials, and you see there's a lot of features. So these are things like the drag and drop. The marker is a really interesting way that you can provide an opportunity for users to click on the screen and get some content, but not overwhelm them with content. So let them have some control over what they're clicking on. The hotspot activities, the hotspot quizzes, the hotspot interactions to navigate a web page, for instance, could be very helpful. So I'd like to see those types of features incorporated, because what I want to see from this is that you really understand what Articulate Storyline can do and have been able to apply to your specific context. And then finally, I would like to see, and I need to see, the demonstration of the multimedia and design principles that we've covered. We spent a lot of time reading about different principles like redundancy, modality. This is your opportunity to really demonstrate and apply what we've covered in the first part of the semester. We did a little bit with Captivate, but really start to apply that with Articulate Storyline. So just a reminder, your next major assignment is going to be April 14th, and that's when you're going to submit Part C.